As we finish up our Savannah tour, we are going to talk about two of the most horrific places there. And when I mean horrific, I mean extreme. Did anyone just see that orb? Please tell me that was a bug. I really hate when they do this to me. Anyway, we are actually talking about how dangerously haunted both of these places can be. But for the first of the second to the last two videos, we are going to be talking about the Mercer house. Most of the ghosts in and around Savannah stem from the Civil War era. The spirits of the Mercer house are recent arrivals to the city. The murder of Nanny Hansford in 1981 shocked the community, especially since the assistant, James Williams, was well known in Savannah for helping to preserve the city's historic district. Williams and Hansford were lovers and in a rocky relationship. After an incredibly heated argument, Williams shot Hansford in the study room of the Mercer house, claiming in self-defense. Williams was eventually acquitted, though he died in the house 8 months later. The Mercer house has been haunted ever since, with ghost sightings of both Hansford and Williams reported by guests. Hansford is most often seen walking through the halls of the house, while Williams is usually seen in the foyer where his body was found. Some have also reported phantom parties when the house was empty, which are said to be visual hauntings from Williams' extravagant parties. The ghost of a young boy who was impaled after falling from a roof is also seen in the house. Long before Williams moved in, a young boy named Tommy Downs climbed onto the roof of the Mercer house to watch the birds. He lost his cap, fell off the side of the roof, and was impaled by an iron gate below. He often seen standing in the windows of the house, while others have revealed the visual scene of his death over and over as it was on the infinite loop. Even well-known houses around Savannah and to a greater extent the South are named after the first families that lived in them. Usually the family of prominence. This should apply to the Mercer house as well, but nobody with the name Mercer ever lived in the house. The Mercer house was originally built by General Hugh Mercer, but the construction was halted due to the outbreak of the Civil War. General Mercer went to fight the Confederacy for the Confederacy and was briefly imprisoned after being captured, along with prominent Confederate leaders. Upon the release, he returned to Savannah but didn't return to the Mercer house. In 1969, a young boy named Tommy Downs wandered into the Mercer house. Like many of the buildings in the Savannah Historic District, the house was abandoned at the time. Tommy explored the building, eventually making his way onto the roof. He was an avid bird chaser. He probably climbed onto the roof to catch pigeons. Unfortunately, Tommy slipped and fell from the roof. He was impaled by the spikes on the iron gate surrounding the house. The spikes piercing his head and body. Try as they could, the paramedics couldn't save him. They cut through the spikes in the attempt to free Tommy's body from the gate. He died on the scene. Two spikes are still broken to this day. General Mercer sold the unfinished structure to John Welliner, who completed the house in 1869. Timmy Williams bought the house in 1969 and restored it over the course of the years. William was one of the city's earliest and most prominent preservations, having restored over 50 homes around Savannah. And he ran his antique restoration business from a small building right behind the Mercer house. Williams was well known around the town, would often throw big parties. The parties at the Mercer house were unlikely who Savannah's, and some of the city's most prominent people were usually in attendance. It was at one of the parties where William met Danny Hansforth, who began a heated relationship shortly after. Danny and Timmy became lovers, but their relationship was rocky. Danny was a sex worker and had a dark past. The two often argued and their relationship became a crutch when the couple got into an especially vicious argument in 1981. Williams and Hanford began arguing all day, and after the two separated in an attempt to calm down, Hanford knocked over the 18th century English grandfather clock in the foyer. He then stormed into the study where Williams was reading and pulled a gun on Williams. Hanford pulled the trigger and the gun jammed. Williams then pulled out his own firearm and shot Hansford, who died on the scene. Williams called the police minutes after the murder, leading the police to believe that Williams tampered with the scene to back up his claim of self-defense. Williams was charged with murder, and his case went to trial 4 times before eventually acquitted in 1989. 8 years after being convicted, James Williams died in his home 8 months later due to pneumonia and heart failure. The murder was portrayed in John Marion's 1994 book Midnight in the Garden of God and Good and Evil. The book was adapted into a movie in 1997 and was directed by Clint Eastwood. James Williams claimed that Danny Hansford's ghost haunted the Mercer house after the murder. Hansford's ghost was reportedly angry, vowing to get revenge, even more so considering that Williams was acquitted, leaving nobody responsible for the murder. Williams was so haunted by Hansford's ghost that he reached out to a voodoo practitioner for help, hoping to exorcise the ghost. The exorcism didn't work. As Williams claimed the hauntings continued, many believe that Danny's spirit was responsible for the death of James Williams. Ironically, Williams' body was found in the foyer near the study where he shot Hansford to death. Danny Hansford still haunts the Mercer house to this day. Guests say they feel his presence upon entry, angry at the lack of accountability for his murder. Many also report the feeling of being watched. His apparition usually appears in the study where he died, though he is sometimes seen walking the halls of the house. The surround of phantom sounds, the sound of phantom footsteps and disembodied voices are associated with his appearance. James Williams haunts the house as well. His apparition is often seen in the foyer of the study, where his body was found. Guests also claim to have a leftover memories of Williams' wild parties. His Christmas parties were especially wild. Williams threw his last Christmas party in 1989, after his acquittal. Yet a few months after his death, neighbors reported that the parties continued, even though the house was empty. They claim to have heard live music and saw people dancing through the windows, but, but they found the house empty upon taking a closer look. They say that if you pass the Mercer house during the holidays, you'll have original memories of the legendary Williams Christmas party. The ghost of Tommy Downs is also seen in the Mercer house. Many report seeing a young boy standing on the roof on the balcony. Many passerbys have also seen him staring down at them from the window. Tourists who walk past by take photos have caught images of Tommy in the windows or standing near the house. Some even claim to see the memory of Tommy falling from the roof to his death. The scene of Tommy leaning impaled on the spikes on the iron gate plays over and over in their head. Like a video put on repeat, the Mercer House is now a museum run by Dorothy Kinley, John Williams' sister. She is not keen on the hauntings or the Mercer House and supposedly keeps her lips tight about the murder and any alleged ghosts on the property. She claims to have never seen or experienced any paranormal occurrences in the house. Unsurprisingly, she's not a fan of Brennet's book either. Savannah's got Savannah's got a lot to offer, and as one of the most haunted towns in the east of the Mississippi, is a ghost hunter's paradise. Check out the house at 430 Apricorn Street, easily one of the most haunted houses in Savannah. 432 Apricorn was the site of a family tragedy where the father's cruel punishment caused the death of his daughter. He eventually killed himself out of guilt. After being recently tormented by his daughter's ghosts, 50 years later, a gruesome triple murder occurred at the house. So, why do you think that the sister doesn't claim that she has never had a paranormal experience? Does she know the truth behind the murder? Or is she just too scared to admit that somebody was in the wrong? Thank you for watching my stories and videos. As always, please like, comment, and subscribe. And I am Haunting Girl, and this is my channel. And until next time, I'll spook you later. Pleasant dreams.